decade in our, or more than a decade, in our Syria solidarity work that the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist, has been doing. But first, I just want to take a moment of your time to announce, I'm sure comrades here will have heard, and maybe you watching at home as well, the passing of our founding chairman and dear comrade, friend and teacher, Harpal Brar, who died this morning, surrounded by friends and family at home. Harpal was an immigrant to Britain in the 1960s. He came from Punjab in India to study law here. And it was here he began studying Marxism-Leninism as well and got involved in politics. So he was a law student here, and he got involved with various anti-revisionist groups, and since the 1960s he has been continuously, ceaselessly politically active right up until these past few weeks. He was attending our meetings, party meetings, even a couple of weeks ago after recovering from a bout of illness. He has 4 articles in the most recent Laukar journal that's coming out soon, and helped edit all of the content in that as well. So he was a ceaseless, dedicated servant to the working class, and he was a humble person despite his weighty and massive contributions. And I mean, you just need to go look at the books published by Harpal and his comrades over the past few decades, and that really started with perestroika. I mean, they were working actively politically, publishing journals and collections of written work, but Harpal's work really began in earnest after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And at the time it was most difficult to be a communist, at the time it was most difficult to be an anti-revisionist Marxist-Leninist, Harpal stepped up his activity. They formed the Stalin Society, began publishing works like Perestroika to explain that it was not a failure of Marxism-Leninism, it was not a failure of communism, as all the revisionist parties were folding themselves, collapsing, as all the Trotskyist parties were celebrating the collapse of the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc. Harpal was diligently working with comrades to explain that it was just the opposite. It was revisionism that had collapsed, it was revisionism that had failed, it was revisionism that had poisoned the movement. Revisionism, Trotskyism, opportunism, all these things are so important for us to understand and guard against. And it was with those comrades that he spent the next 30 years working hard in the Stalin Society and founded our party just over 20 years ago with just a small handful of comrades. But never relenting, never losing hope, always persisting. And he was a very patient teacher as well. He would come to anyone that wanted to ask him a question about Marxism-Leninism, anyone that wanted to know more. He always had time for people to, it didn't matter who they were, what their background was, if they wanted to ask Harpal a question or discuss politics with them, he always made time, he always found time. That was his prime joy in life, was trying to educate people in Marxism-Leninism, discussing and debating Marxism-Leninism. But he never shied away from getting to the truth of the matter. He never put personal relationships or keeping the peace or any other kind of liberal notions, he never put those in the way of the core aim, which is the emancipation of the working classes of the world, the emancipation of the working class in Britain through the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist. So it's up to all of us to learn from his example. It's up to all of us to live up to his example in the work that we do every day. And Harpal would always say, when you put your head on the pillow, when you wake up in the morning with your head on the pillow, think about what you can do for the party that day. And when you go to bed at night and rest your head on the pillow, think about what you've done for the party that day. And if it's nothing, ask yourself why. What have you been doing for the working class? What have you done today? Even if it's just a small thing, even if it's just one thing. Because every small step, every small action brings us closer. And I think Harpal would be, I know Harpal was very proud of where our party is today. As we go into 2025, our party is stronger than ever before. It has more dedicated and sincere comrades than ever before. And our movement is growing. And I'm sure by following Harpal's example, we can achieve victory.
I'll stand for this. Thank you, comrade, for the introduction. Before I get to the ins and outs of the situation in Syria, I wanted just to say a couple of words about Comrade Harpal's passing from my own perspective. And I know he'd tell me to get on with it as well, so I'll keep it as brief as I can. I wanted to say that the principal reason, one of the principal reasons why I'm able to be with you today and be talking in the way that I am about these issues is because of the work of Comrade Harpal Brar. Because it was only through the tradition that he, along with several other comrades of his generation, helped preserve, which is the real traditions of Marxism-Leninism, that so many of us who dropped out of Trotskyism, curse the word, or social democracy, or anarchism, and I've been unfortunate enough to go through all three in my the last 25 years, so ask me questions later. But it was only when I started to actually read Comrade Harpal's work, starting with his analysis of the collapse of the Soviet Union in the book entitled Perestroika, and then his analysis of Trotskyism and social democracy, that the entire wretched, stinking corpse of the British left started to make sense to me in terms of, well, why do we always lose? Is the question that we should ask. Why is it that an anti-war movement that's been around for now almost 25 years has never succeeded in stopping a single war, but still calls itself the Stop the War Coalition? I mean, if there was such a thing as an enforcement of the Trades Descriptions Act, they should all be arrested. But it's only when you actually understand the true role of those who are the guiding forces behind the Stop the War Coalition. It's the revisionist non-communists of the Communist Party of Britain. It's the Trotskyites of the Socialist Workers' Party, the Spew Group, the Socialist Party of England and Wales, the others who are all rooted in the bureaucracy of the trade union movement and the labour aristocracy. It's only when you understand their role and what they are supposed to do that you understand why every movement they are engaged in always ends in failure, especially movements that are designed to get in the way of imperialist wars. And it was only through the engaging and learning from the work of Comrade Harpal on the books I've mentioned and other articles he has written over the long period of his revolutionary career that I was finally able to put the pieces together and make sense of the way in which the British left essentially operates as an appendage of the British ruling class. There is, comrades, no other explanation for it, and Comrade Harpal spelt that out very clearly and concisely in many works over the years. And I will just conclude my words on our esteemed and late comrade by just saying this. At a time when, 60 years ago, Marxism-Leninism was under siege from everybody, including the leadership of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union in the form of the wretched Khrushchev, over to, of course, the propagandists of US and British and French imperialism, the Trotskyites and the various other things that spun off from them. At a time when all of these influences and the most powerful imperialist nations in the world and the supposedly socialist countries, their leadership, were all trying to bury Marxism-Leninism. Comrade Harpal and his comrades kept the tradition not only alive but added to it and enhanced it in Britain, one of the centres of global imperialism. So I think the value of his work cannot be overstated. I want to pay a personal tribute to the great value of it and the great value that I myself have found within it. So I will offer this as my own small tribute to him.
you.